past week in Lambeth, we've helped a guy who'd had 2 strokes who was homeless, and it took 2 weeks to get him put in temporary accommodation. He's still not, they still haven't said they're going to do something, but it was a fight. A woman who was being evicted off of a private block on our estate with 40 studio flats being rented out at 850 quid a week, a month, but 25 grand for a landlord who doesn't think they've got any responsibility. He got her to sign a repossession order when she moved in, so he could evict her whenever he wanted. Do you know what I mean? And that took another 2 weeks to get her put somewhere. At the same time, on the Guinness Trust estate, you've got tenants getting their eviction notices for November just before Christmas, families who've lived there with their kids for 12, 14 years. And you could talk about any estate that's happening, Cressida Gardens, Myersfield, demolition, privatisation, transfers and all the rest of it. And what's happening is resistance is growing up, and this thing about linking across tenure is so important that a house is a home, it's not an asset for a property speculator. These houses were built for home, not for people to get about returning. And I think the problem is a lot of people don't think that this is not natural. Actually, it's bonkers. When you read Danny Dorning's book, the government has poured £50 billion into the private rented sector. That is a political decision. They could have built social housing. He talks about, actually there's lots of rooms, but they are empty. The rich are hoarding rooms. Actually, the rates of rooms to people. 3-bedroom family homes have been sold to individual people in the city. Do you know what I mean? And so I think part of the thing about MIPIM is that we bring the resistance to the speculators, and these are the people responsible for what's happening to us, but we also name who they are. When you go through that list, Tesco's, land securities, but investment portfolio banks, what are these people doing there, and what are the politicians doing there talking to them? They are slicing and dicing our cities and our communities, and it's time that they were named, shamed, and actually we built the resistance and the focus.
Just at this point is bringing somebody from our housing branch and then go back to just get your perspective from the industrial side of it. So Glyn or Artie, Glyn, do you want to
take a minute each?
Very quickly, Phil, thank you. Yeah, my name's Glyn Robbins. I'm a member of the United Housing Branch. I'm very, very proud that my union is taking the lead on this issue, and I'd encourage anybody in other unions to ask their branches and their organisations to do the same. There is a sample resolution that we've drafted in the preparation for tonight, which I'm sure Pilgrim won't mind me saying, if people contact Pilgrim, she can give you the wording. But the only other thing, I don't want to take any more time other than to say, I think part of what has been the root of the problem in terms of the housing crisis is our sense of powerlessness, the sense that we are unable to combat these forces. And I think we need to start reversing that. We need some victories. And so I know there's evictions going on all over London, all over the country for that matter. But you've heard from Michael this evening, Michael James, who's from the same borough as me in town. He is facing an eviction date sometime this month. The reality is that if we all turn up there on that date, whenever it may be, he won't be evicted. It's as simple as that. And we need that victory. So can you make a silent pledge with yourself when you hear via the various networks that Michael has got an eviction date, that you come down to Shepwell with us, with Unite members, with the housing branch, and make sure that Michael is not evicted, and that becomes a lesson to lots of other people in a similar situation.
do you want to add that, Artie?
Just to, I suppose, carry on with it, I'm also from the Housing Workers Branch, and thank you all for organising this and also kind of bringing the networks together. We're an industrial branch that links homeless organisations like St Mungo's are in our workplaces, Peabody is a housing association, One Housing Group, and we've been involved in over 60 days of industrial action in the last year against £6,000 pay cuts in Equinox, over 8,000 in the likes of One Housing Group, and some of those we have beat back, some of those there's been consequences to, with a suspended and then sacked rep. So we're in ongoing battles to try and stop the services that we think are necessary and useful for our communities. We want to stop them being slashed and disseminated, and we are and we have been working with Unite Community and other organisations for quite a while as well. some of us, are affected by the cuts. I'm subject to a suspended possession order for the bedroom tax and rent arrears. So it's not as though Unite Community are over there, the homeless organisations are over there, and the industrial branches are there. We are in and out of the same situations, and I think that's happening to so much more of our community up and down the country, and that's why it's really, really important. There was a small little win that happened in Peabody Housing Association, which was that it's only small, and we had more that have happened, but it was a very recent one that I just thought would relate our industrial struggle with the community one. It is the income officers in Peabody were expected to go onto a shift pattern, which would have meant they'd started earlier and ended later. It would have affected them that they would have had to do more hours for less, but it was about income maximisation, really. They wanted to get more money out of tenants, including those of us who are Peabody tenants. They challenged that and have beat that back, which is brilliant, because that not only stops them having to work extra, but it will stop them having to squeeze more money out of residents like us who cannot afford it already. So there is a direct link with the work that goes on industrially and community-wise. I just thought we can't always talk about all the insides and outsides of, in detail what's going on in some of our organisations, but that's just one of them, and I think, we put it out on the website and there's more to come. It'd be great to kind of link up more with people as well. Just one small thing which Peter had mentioned was, he noted the thing that, some of the Labour councillors, etc., were going to MIPIM, and we're absolutely ashamed of that as housing worker branch as well. We have a Unite policy which is against evictions, and we will support campaigns against evictions. The axing of the bedroom tax, not in 2015, local authorities could, stop that happening now, and we would ask for that to happen. Now, the networks of this union should be used even more forcefully to stop that happening. The bailiff orders and the council tax, etc. I don't want to go on because I know you've got loads on, but thanks for doing this, and we will carry on working together.
I'm just going to take one or two more contributions now, and I'm going to take them from the guy there who's patiently had his hand up, and I really want to hear from the people in Barnet and West Hendon, and then I think we're going to leave it at that. There's plenty of time for us to talk now and at the future meetings that we're going to be having. So do you want to just say,
Hi everyone, my name is Eric. I'm part of a group called the South London Revolutionary Communist Group. Everybody's talking about unmasking our real enemy here of who's behind the housing crisis, but I think that we're all missing a step in that the real enemy here is the British state. And then that sounds quite broad for me to say, but just in the example of the Haygate, because I'm from Southwark as well, and I know in depth of what's been going on in the Haygate estate. So if you just look at that story, then these opportunists who have come in to try and make money from the way that our country is built, the economy is built on property. Now they've come into the UK and they've tried to make money from that. Now, Sept Council are the ones who have sold off the land to them. Sept Council are the ones that have been evicting tenants there. Sept Council are the ones who are not building affordable housing for their tenants. So in that picture over there, who is the enemy? Is it them, these, or is it Sept Council? Sept Council is also a Labour-run council, and my organisation, we've been campaigning against bedroom tax, and we've been helping people fight against bedroom tax as well. So, and Sept Council has not been doing that, and they've been lying to us that we haven't been evicting people who have been in rent arrears due to council tax, but they have been doing it, and we've been helping people. So I just want everybody to just see it that the true people who are the enemy are the councils and the British state, who we have to stand up to, rather than just going after the companies who come and take advantage of the things that processes that they have already put in place.
Agreed.
And I'm going to hear from both Jeanette and Paulette. They both work in different parts of the same direction.
And over to you, Paulette. Yeah, I'll just to carry on from what you were saying. I live in Barnet, which I truly believe in my heart is the worst council in Britain, not in London. And I got involved, in housing staff through when some of Occupy London were squatting in Finchley, and then I saw what happened about Section 144, etc. And then I've got a teenage daughter who just could not get anywhere to live. It was just impossible to find anywhere to live. 6% of landlords in Barnet take housing, would take tenants below the housing benefits, threshold. There was 18,000 people on the waiting list, so the way that Barnet Council decided to deal with that was to abolish the list, so now there's just no list. And that wasn't even counting the 1,400 people that were actually homeless, and that was the figures from 2013, so goodness knows what it is now. And then they miraculously decided to build 3 council houses, which was the first after 22 years that they built. And then they invited Boris Johnson to come and have some grand opening. Do you know what I mean? It's like, it's just absolutely ridiculous. But you all probably know that they're the only council in Britain to have outsourced all their services to a private company, Capita or Crapita as we call it. So a few of us, we started up a group called Barnet Housing Action Group to start trying to address some of this, but then actually we became involved with the West Hendon estate. So as activists, we've spent most of our time up there since, so I'll hand over to you, Paulette.
I've actually just seen Alex walk in the room, who's one of the amazing activists on the West Hendon estate, one of the residents. Just want to say that MIPIM plans to block Boris, but West Hendon embarrassed him back in March and did a really good job of it when he came to open those first 3 council homes. And I believe there needs to be more united action around actions like that are strategic and target the right people who are responsible for the policies that are affecting everyone in this room and across the country. Those couple of actions that happened on the estate were protests. More recently, the residents have turned to targeting the actual developers. On Saturday, the development was blocked for a whole day with about 15 people on the site, which was fantastic success. Monday, less successful. We blocked for an hour and managed to get 2 people arrested. But the movement is growing and we need the support from people across the estates. We plan to come and help the focus mothers, and we'd like to see that same collaboration across the estates. So if you'd like to speak to us about our next action, which is hopefully going to be this Saturday, then come and speak to myself, Jeanette or Alex. Thank you guys.